So I'm at Maduvvari Health Center. It's really similar to Maduvvari Health Center, and then you can see this is the entrance. So I'm gonna find more details about the health center, like facilities or whatever the stuff that they have. So now I'm entering to Maduvvari Health Center and to find some more details about the services of the Maduvvari Health Center. So I'm with Mohammed Sami. He's the civil in charge for Maduvvari Health Center. So this will be a very important moment for me because he is one of the important person for me to find about the main intention that I have, the medical stuff and the facilities of the island. Okay. So what are the facilities that you have in this health center? So, mainly I'm focused on the patient.
Yeah, okay. So Maduvvari Health Center is 24-hour health center working around the clock. So we are providing curative, preventive and diagnostic health services here in Maduvvari. So the almost all, let's say around 2,500 population, and around there are so many resort islands also. People, patients from resorts are also coming here. So
foreigners also?
Yeah, foreigners also coming. Guests also sometimes comes here to get OPD services. And in emergencies also, from resort clinics, they are transferring patients to here also. So let's say around more than nearly 40 people will be consulted here daily. So almost yearly 12,000 to 15,000 patients are serving, and in service side we are providing mostly curative and preventive services. So but our difficulties while providing services in emergency cases.
Yeah.
So we have no specialist doctors here, only senior medical officer or 2 medical officers are working here. So in a real emergency, if in case the patient need to evacuate, under the Asanta scheme, it takes a lot of time to evacuate the patient, nearly 30 to 1 hour it takes minimum. Yeah. To transfer the patient to higher facility. So
what kind of patients you talking about? Like the patients get heart attacks and this kind of?
Course, absolutely. Most of the time, patients with myocardial infarction, angina, or pregnant patients, emergency labor patients who needs to go higher facility. So actually, they were requested to go facilities early, but they are waiting for the last moment, and in case emergency happens, they are directly coming here. So we don't have gynecologist here, and with the discussion with the gynecologist in the higher facility, we are deciding to send patients. But in some cases, we are taking normal deliveries here. So, but in that case also, we actually have limited stocks of injections and injections used for the procedures like syntocin, methadone. We don't have that much stock here. Yeah. So the best thing then for the patient safety, the best thing we can do is to transfer the patient to the higher facility. So in Ungufar, or first we have to see whether Ungufar or any anesthesiologist or gynecologist is there or not. If the patient needs cesarean, we have to check whether anesthesiologist is there or not. So if he is not there, we have to look for the nearby hospital.
What is that other nearby?
Sometimes we send patients to Atoll Hospital in Afaru.
Atoll Hospital.
Yeah, and Atoll Hospital, Edafushi, and sometimes we try to send one patient to Atoll Hospital also.
So is it comfortable that rather than sending Malay to sending Atoll?
Because depending on time. Depending on time.
So it means
it takes let's say 1.5 hours to send patients to Atoll, 40 to 1 hour to Edafushi, and 40 to 1 hour to Atoll. But patient, if we are trying to send patient to Malay, it takes nearly 3 hours by speedboat. Mm-hmm. So with the critical condition of the patient, we need to send the patient to the higher facility earliest.
Yes.
So in that condition, we have to send the nearby. So from nearby hospital, then they will decide if the patient can need to travel to Malay or not. So if the patient is not so critical and they can manage somehow to Malay, then we prefer Malay, to send Malay. But if the patient is so critical and need urgently facility treatment, in that case we look first priority is Ungufar, and in Ungufar if the patient if the doctors are not available, then we look for atoll, Venetol and Edovish side. So according to the availability of the specialist, we prefer the location of sending the patient.
So what are the most death cases? What are the behind these death causes? Like heart attacks, or what is the most death causes in this island?
So
consider of the deaths in this island.
Yeah, of course. Mostly the causes of the deaths, it's mostly about cardiac arrest.
So don't you think that the reason behind the death causes that the time you get to sending, for other island or get higher facility, that the transportation, because I already heard that you have only two sea ambulance or whatever seaplanes to transport these.
Sea ambulance.
So is it the reason that we lost of these lives?
Exactly, I don't say like that, but if the patient get the treatment, if the patient is not getting the treatment early, it will lead further complications, right? So to minimize the complication, we need to send the patient as soon as possible. So when the patient is coming here, he is already having the conditions. So then in that case we need to send the patient early. If getting delay means it adapt further complications.
Yeah.
So it also one of the factor which will lead to death. So if sometimes in one emergency labor patient once we try to send to Ungufar, and it is in the midnight, and in midnight it's real difficulty to send a private launch, or if Asanda is not under Asanda, the scheme is not approved, or in the Asanda if the ambulance is grounded, we have to find a private launch.
And the payments will be happen by the patient?
No, if Asanda is approved, payment will be covered by Asanda company, so it is fully covered from the government.
Insurance.
Yeah, and if Asanda is not approved, and then the cost has to be borne by the patient side. And in this policy, Asanda policy is like if the patient, if the Asanda is approved, and if the Asanda approved means first they will look for C ambulance. If C ambulance is grounded or is not available, then Asanda will request us to find a private launch.
Yeah.
But the problem is during the midnight, it is very difficult to find private launch, and most launch owners are not picking up the phone, and it takes so much delay in sending patients during midnight. So once we find the boat, and while it came here, the patient already delivered here. Luckily, not complicated. Safely, both mother and baby are safe at the time. But we don't have to take those risks. So if the facilities are available, like speed launch or any other facility, especially during the midnight, it is a critical concern. We have sometimes few times we have experienced those things. So while sending patients midnight, it takes several difficulties. And so I think if the speedboat or any facility is arranged to pick up a patient from a nearby island or from this island, it will be very easy for patient safety.
So if I ask one question straightforward, what are the facilities that you require right now? From today onwards, what are the facilities that you really think to be added in this health center?
Yeah, okay. For the quality of services and patient satisfactions, so one of the most facility we need is ambulance services,
Ambulance.
MC ambulance
C
services.
ambulance. Okay.
Sending patient early to the higher facility is one of the most resource we need, but unfortunately we are lacking that. And the next thing is for minor cases like let's say once a patient is fell down and we need to make sure the patient is having any fracture or not, if the joint is dislocated or not. So we have to send patient to Ungufar or nearby hospital to take X-ray.
For scanning and X-ray.
X-ray. But now there are portable X-ray services or X-ray machines also that we can implement it here. So if we can get portable X-ray machine or such facility, we can very much minimize the patient who has to go for the treatment to outside. We can minimize those cases. So, and the next thing is for cardiac arrest, we need AED. So to give immediate resuscitations. So right now we are like in this facility also. So those are very important things that always has to be there in the health facility. So
what about if a person required a bypass or surgery, Ungufar or Male? So what's the next step? Do you have facility in Ungufar? Of course, we have. I'm sure it's not there.
Now Ungufar is under development or transformation period to change to the tertiary hospital. So when it was fully changed to tertiary hospital, I hope bypass surgery and all other surgery facilities.
So right now they don't have bypass surgery.
I'm not sure. Possibly it is not available. Yeah. So in that case, patient has to be directly transferred to IGMH. Male. So right now I don't think it is available in Ungufar.
Okay. And what about the qualifications? So do you have enough doctors and got qualified? And like you said, you don't have radiologists. Do you have radiologists?
No. Only we have 2 medical officers.
2 medical officers.
Right now we have only one to cater to 8,500 population. So because our doctor is already resigned and currently we are with the temporary doctor from Ungufar. So until we get a permanent doctor here, we have to keep one doctor. But especially during the Ramadan period, the patient load is every year it is very high, and doctor will be exhausted every time. So now also the doctor is exhausted working here with one doctor catering 30 to 40 patients every day, going and coming. So it's a very difficult time for our doctor also, managing this big population with only one doctor. So, and about the clinical nurses and translators, actually currently we are having 10 nurses, and we have the capacity, we have the slot to keep around 30 nurses, but we are not provided the remaining nurses. So those are the difficulties that we are facing about human resource, not having the adequate staffs to serve the public. So with those difficulties, we are trying to make our level best to give quality services that we can provide from this health facility.
So what are you suggesting for this sea ambulance? How many you expecting to have in this atoll? I mean, currently you have 2.
Let's say previously there was one sea ambulance kept in Meru.
Yeah.
But later it was transferred to some other island. So during the period, the problem was little bit solved, because from Meru to Maduvvari it takes let's say around 5 minutes. So once Asanda approved, it takes few minutes to come from Meru to Maduvary.
Yeah.
But if it is in Ungufar or
Yeah.
Alifushi, it takes
Yeah.
around 1 hour.
1
From
hour.
taking patient from Ungufar to Maduvvari 30 minutes, Maduvvari to Ungufar 30 minutes. So after the approval of Asanta, first it takes around 30 to 40 minutes to approve. And once the launch starts, it takes minimum 1 hour to send patient. So let's say nearly 2 to 3 hours takes to send an emergency patient to a facility. So that's a quite quite long period to send an emergency patient. So let's say if we can keep 3 or 4 ambulances in Atoll, I think it will be quite enough to cater, let's say, Medu, Maduvvari, Fanu, Kinolas, Inguradu. These 5 islands we can keep 1 C ambulance to keep to send those patients need evacuation from those 5 islands, and another C ambulance to another 5 islands. So around 14-15 islands in the atoll, and if we can keep 3 to 4 ambulances, it will be more than enough.
3 to 4.
Yeah. Think
Yeah, so sending critical patient will be the big matter in this atoll. So as per him, it is really important that you have minimum 3 to 4 C ambulance in this within these 14 islands, inhabited islands. So yeah, so we have 88 islands in dry atoll, but 14 islands are inhabited. So that's the main requirement that as is mentioned. So we hope it's going to happen in future to treating the critical patient and to take care of these locals. So that is really important. Focus on the patients.
so. Thank you very much for approaching us and seeing our health facility and the initiative you take to help us providing the lacking facilities. I was inspired by that.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your initiate, and God bless you.